how about them tops, son?
All day, SEC boys. SEC, they supposed to be SEC. Crazy all day, baby.
You're listening to the Red Out Podcast.
Jared's in the house. How's it going, Jared?
How's it going?
Good. How you been doing, buddy?
Good. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, you sound great.
Cool. I got some new Bluetooth headphones that I'm using. These are nice.
I was gonna say you sound really good. So I'm using one of my presents. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that's just what happens when you finally go from a 6S to a 12.
Yeah,
sounds a lot better.
Yeah, I can understand that. I usually skip from 6 to I'm at 10 now. So I figure in 4 more. When I figure two more iPhones, and I'll get the next one.
There you go.
So we got Mr. Hilltopper already writing into us. Hey, Mr. Hilltopper, how's it going, buddy?
Brett, I promise I will spell your name right from now on. I just want to make that public. I'm sorry.
So I am actually using one of my wife's presents tonight, the Rocket Book. Have you heard of the Rocket Book?
No.
Okay, so it's got like 5 sheets of paper in it. It's a notebook. What you do is you write out whatever notes you're going to write out on this page, and then it's got at the bottom, it's got about 6 different little icons. You circle whichever one, and then you circle whichever one, and then you have a set up way of where it's going to go. So it'll either go to Gmail or your Google Drive or Gmail, whatever, messages. So my script is written out on my phone right now. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Look at you.
I know, right?
We've already come so far in 2021. That's a good start.
I know, right? We're living in the future. Had no idea. Yes. Now, here's the thing. Like I said, it has 6 sheets of paper. You write in pen on the paper. So when you're done, you take a wet rag and wet the sheet of paper and wipe away the ink. And then the paper's ready to go for the next one.
Oh, nice.
Is that not crazy? Like, I'm like, oh my God, we're in the future. Or whenever somebody talks about a Tesla car, I'm like, oh my God, we're in the future. Self-driving cars. It's the craziest thing for me.
That takes the fun out of it, though, because it
really does.
I feel like it would force you to go the speed limit too, and I wouldn't be a big fan of that.
But at the same time, yes, you'll be going the speed limit, but you'll also be playing on your phone. So you really won't even pay attention.
I have seen technology fail enough times to never trust one of those automated cars.
That is true. I'll give you that. That is true. Because I would be the same way. I'd just be watching and be like, man, this car can't drive. What is wrong with this car? Psh, turn signal much? Gosh. But anyway, so we'll get into our winners and losers real quick. I think the big winner, obviously, Alabama beating Ohio State crazily. What was it, 57-24?
Yeah, it's a blowout as expected.
Okay, so was it as expected, or was it more expected when all of a sudden their defensive players all got COVID mysteriously?
Well, I mean, I think it wouldn't have made any difference. I mean, Alabama is still one of the best college teams that we've ever seen. What Nick Saban has done since he's been the coach for the Crimson Tide is incredible. I mean, he has 7 championships. I saw a tweet the other day that's so true. Like, they said that Nick Saban has reached the point of his career, like an NCAA dynasty, that you just get bored of it and start over with Wyoming. So yeah. I'm waiting.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I mean, you're not wrong. I remember back in the day, I'd do that NCAA dynasty, and Western would be dominating, the SEC where they win in my dynasty. And after a while, it always took me like 2 years to get to number 1 to the national championship game. Of course, this was before the tournament, the college playoff, whenever they did all that. So, you're always working, trying to get that going. And it took me like 2 or 3 years, depending on how bad the team was, to get to number 1, which is hilarious. And I will say, I talked to Jake the other day, and he thinks that Nick Saban has gotten fat. And I'm like, he's like, this Nick Saban looks like he ate 2009 Nick Saban. And I'm like, man, that's not right. I was like, I don't think he looks that bad. He's almost 70 years old.
If I won as many championships as him, I'd probably be fat too with all that good food I'd be getting from those paychecks.
Well, see, here's what I said. I was like, dude, none of us look good after the quarantine.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
you've got to give Nick Saban a little bit. Got to give him a little bit of line. But I do agree with one of our listeners who said that Nick Saban should stop dyeing his hair, and I completely agree.
Yeah.
He needs to do the Silver Fox thing and just go with it.
It's inevitable.
It is. I mean, just let it ride. If that is what I've always said. Of course, I'm 33 years old and I'm already starting to show gray. And I told my wife, I said, I do not care what color it turns as long as it doesn't turn loose.
I mean, I feel like Pete Carroll has been white-headed my entire life. So, I mean...
Yeah, and like Steve Martin, the actor.
Yes.
He's white-haired completely since... I mean, the earliest movie I can remember him in was The Jerk, and he was white-haired in that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's so many people out there who rock the white hair, and it's just like, okay. Do you have any winners or losers?
Oh, yeah, there's some big stuff that happened in the NBA today. It was a 4-team trade that it ended up being, but the big thing was that James Harden got traded from the Rockets to the Brooklyn Nets to join Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. And one of the teams within that 4-team trade was my Pacers, and Victor Oladipo got sent to the Rockets, and they sent Karis LeVert from Brooklyn to Indy. So as much as I loved Victor Oladipo, he was one of my favorite players. I mean, it's kind of sad how he kind of expressed a lot of interest in not wanting to be in Indiana anymore, which, I mean, I understand that. I mean, we had the whole Paul George situation happen already. I mean, it is what it is. But thankfully, we were able to get an incredibly talented player in Karis LeVert. He's been averaging about the same numbers as Oladipo. And, I mean, he's looking really healthy, really good right now. So I feel like he'll come in and make a difference immediately. And he's on a better contract, too, because Vic was going to be a free agent at the end of the year. But, I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, to see how Harden is going to work with KD and Kyrie Irving is going to be really interesting. I don't know. You think talent-wise they would be the best team, but I'm not. Just for chemistry purposes, I don't know. I'm not buying it.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I did see the news on Facebook probably a couple hours ago or whatever, and I don't follow the NBA as closely. So I was like, I don't know the details of this, but I'm glad you brought it up. So I'm guessing that James Harden's stock is trending down, do you think? Or especially with this move?
He was part of the reason why Houston was so good, and at the same time, he was a big part of the reason of why they were bad. Because, I mean, he can get you 30 points, but he's not sharing the ball at all. I mean, he's kind of a ball hog, and so is Kyrie and KD. So having 3 ball hogs on one team is going to be interesting. I mean, they've used other teams in the past, like when D-Wade, LeBron, and Chris Bosh were all on the same team in the Heat. They thought they might have the same problem, and they still won 2 championships. But, I mean, Harden, I don't know. I mean, he was so miserable in Houston, at least at the beginning of the season. Everybody knew he wanted out of there. So, I mean, they did the right thing. And it got the Pacers a good player that I think that he's going to be a starting player now. And to help make this team even better, so I'll take it.
Yeah. Now, I've heard this theory before, and I don't know if you've heard this or not, but some of these bigger name players should actually be trying to trend for smaller markets. Now, do you want to hear why?
Why do you think that?
Taxes.
Yeah.
Because let's say New York to Indianapolis, we'll just say those two, or even, Milwaukee or somewhere like that. If, the tax rate in New York is going to be so much different than the tax rate in Milwaukee or Indianapolis, you're going to be making a lot more money in the long run. So, if you're not concerned with the actual, being in the big city or whatever, I mean, honestly, these guys make so much money. Couldn't they just get a private jet and fly to the big city? If they want to go to New York for the night, why don't they just fly to New York for the night? And then they're in Utah or, wherever, and they can actually just make money that way. I mean, that's just me, but I know you're losing money in the long run, but at the same time, I'm a homebody, so I really don't care.
Yeah. I mean, most NBA people aren't, though. That's the problem.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. I would be the worst one, but so
I would be like a Kawhi. I would be a Kawhi Leonard type for sure. Like no one would ever see me after I retire or during the off season. I would just fall off the face of the earth.
That would be me too. I would just be like, hey, I'm done. Yeah. I don't know. I do respect these analysts, former players who become analysts. Hey, you know what? You get your money however you need to, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, if I was an NBA player, you would probably still see me driving my 2005 Hyundai Elantra, and then I would be walking out of the Mexican restaurant with my carry-out. That's what paparazzis would be getting pictures of.
That's right. Yeah, they'll be like, man, he's having rough times. He's eating at that Mexican restaurant.
Wearing my joggers and a hoodie with sunglasses and maybe some socks and sandals. I don't do that often, but I feel like just for spite I would.
Yeah, the white socks with the black sandals. Oh yeah, and
the Nike slides, man.
Yeah, you got to do the thong sandals too. Of course, I can't say anything because I am I'm the quote dad who rocks the Crocs and socks, and I honestly don't care where I am. I'll wear Crocs. I'll go to Target, McDonald's, Walmart. It don't matter. I'll be wearing Crocs. Now, if I'm going out to shop, if I got to pick up something, I'm going to be rocking Crocs. But if I'm going to be wearing my tennis shoes. I got to wear my Asics. But anyway, so got some playoff games coming up in the NFL. Is Tampa still in this run?
Unfortunately, I'm waiting for Tom Brady to lose. They play the Saints. They haven't beat the Saints all year, which will either come to their favor because it's hard to beat the same team 3 times, or maybe it's just a sign that New Orleans is that much better than they are. I don't know.
That's true. I don't know. I actually did hear a comedian this week on Bob and Tom, and he was like, Tom Brady and Drew Brees are the only 2 quarterbacks that qualify for the COVID vaccination so far. And I was like, oh my gosh. That is the greatest thing. Of course, go ahead.
Yeah, before you go into that, did you watch any of the playoff game that was broadcast on Nickelodeon?
No, there was a game on Nickelodeon.
Yes, they had a simulcast for the Bears and Saints game that was on Nickelodeon. It was the first time they had ever done this. They're trying to gear it towards a younger audience to get kids more involved to watch football, which I think is great. But it was so fun. Like they called the end zone the slime zone, and they had these little slime cannons that they had programmed in on it. The commentary was hilarious. It was just kind of like into what you would expect, the kind of questions a kid would ask. But I will say that Noah Eagle, one of the commentators for that, I have no idea who he is, but he did an incredible job. He has a very good commentator voice. Even though he didn't play football or anything, I mean, I feel like he could do it for a living. Tried.
Well, I mean, like some of the best commentators are not football or former football players. Like John Madden was one of the best football coaches around, and he obviously played football. But you've got like Lee. I was going to say Lee Corso. He was a coach too, though. Dang, I keep running into coaches. I know, right? Of course, Kirk.
They still play too. Most coaches did.
Quarterback. Good gosh, but there are analysts out there. I would say Colin Cowherd. He's a good analyst. He's not specifically an analyst, but he's a radio personality who does a lot of good stuff. But there are people out there who do.
I mean, Stephen A. Smith. I think he's
Stephen A. Smith. Great. There you go. Michael Jordan. There we go. Neither one of them played football. But anyway, there are good ones out there. Is what I'm getting at. Of course, in this previous year, I always enjoyed when Brandon Dowdy was on doing commentary for Western.
Yes.
When it wasn't the other team's people doing the commentary, it was a lot more fun.
I wish we could sign a deal with Nickelodeon just so we could actually see the games on TV. I feel like that would be a big upgrade.
That my wife would be so confused. Why are you watching Nickelodeon? Because she loved Nickelodeon. She loved Nickelodeon back in the day, and I'd be like, "Oh,
me too, man.
I'm just trying to watch, see what's on Nickelodeon tonight," and be like, Oh, there's a Western game on Nickelodeon. I had no idea.
Think of what that would do for recruitment, though. All these kids watching your college play and then be like, oh, Western Kentucky, they have the Big Blob as a mascot. I'm going to remember that. And then however many years later, they go to the Hill. See, that's smart. Somebody needs to jump on that.
Todd, jump on that. Yep. Just we need to aim for the younger audience before they start watching ESPN.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Just as long as we win.
Yes. So we did have some news in football. Carlos Lachlan was named running backs coach.
That dude is ripped, too.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you saw his picture, but he looks like he could stiff arm Derrick Henry into oblivion.
He looks like he would beat half the offensive line for the Tennessee Titans. Yeah. Like, I think he could beat them up. Like, he's pretty stout looking. Then we had Stephen Hamby promoted to the offensive lines coach, who is on the opposite end of the spectrum. Like, if you put these guys in a lineup, I would have said that Lachlan was coaching O-line, honestly.
Yeah.
Because he's a big dude. And Hamby is like a little dude. Or not really little, but probably average. And then we had Maurice Crum was promoted to defensive coordinator. Now, is he going to be taking White's job, or is he co-coordinator?
Yeah, he's taking White's job because he went to South Carolina.
Okay. I knew you'd be up on it. Okay. Wow. So do you think we're going to have the same form of system, or what are we going for?
Honestly, man, I think this could be almost like a complete rebuild of the system that we had. It's not really going to be recognizable for this past season that we just came out of, honestly. Because with Bailey Zapp, I think that's going to be our starting quarterback. We're going to be going back to more of an air raid based offense, which is good. I think that's how it needs to be. Because, I mean, we tried Pigram and it just did not work out last season. And then 500 transfers later, I mean, we've kind of lost a bunch of maybe role players, not as many like big starters. But, I mean, we're starting to rebuild through the transfer portal. I know we've picked up players from Oregon and North Carolina and Michigan State. We just picked up a quarterback from there. So I think they're doing pretty good getting some talented guys in that were good enough to go to those kind of places out of high school. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. And I like the Kidley a lot already as an offensive coordinator, having him work with the quarterbacks. I think that's going to be really big. And having these new guys come in and hopefully kind of form a new offense, because it needs to be fixed. Our offense last year was pure garbage. If you can't score more than 21 points in like 4 or 5 games, that's pretty bad traditionally compared to what we've had. I mean, we lost a bunch of games because we just simply couldn't get up and down the field. So that's going to be really big to get some new vision, some new breath, and some new players to come in and hopefully get some yards.
So here's my question. Since you brought up the offense, can you blame the coach necessarily for the failure of the offense to produce when the most integral piece is the problem? I honestly think, and I'm not attacking him as a person or anything, but just as a player.
Yeah. I mean, it's still hard because of COVID. They weren't able to have spring ball. I mean, if they had spring ball and normal practices, maybe Pigram would have gotten the grip of things a lot faster and he might not have struggled as much. But, I mean, it's still just the way he was implemented into this offense. It just never really clicked. And even with the run game, I mean, it took forever just to get Gage Walker getting a bunch of good reps again and getting over 100 yards. I mean, even from that perspective, too, there wasn't a lot going on. It was just kind of a mess, and a lot of people, I mean, the 2 wide receivers leaving at the beginning of the season, and then it just seemed to spiral after that. So
I agree. I think it kind of domino affected, like you said, spiraled. I think it domino affected out of control after that, especially with 2 of your bigger targets going out or to grad transfers. And, I mean, that's going to affect Gage. That affects Piggy. That affects the entire offense. And I don't know. It's really frustrating. And I don't know. I hope Zapp is going to be a good contributor for us. He's going to be coming in at quarterback, competing against several others, I'm sure. I keep looking for my notes instead of looking for my phone.
Yeah, one of those younger guys would have to be pretty darn good to beat out him, though, in my opinion. I feel like it's his job to lose at this point.
So What experience does Croon bring to the table?
Coach Crum. I mean, he was a
Croon,
linebacker for Notre Dame. Yeah, it was Crum. I mean, I vaguely remember him playing at Notre Dame like a long time ago. And
Okay.
I mean, I remember he was kind of a hard hitting guy. And of course, now, I mean, he was with, I can't remember if it was the linebackers or D line, what his position was. But I mean, I've heard from people that he's great. I mean, the players love him. I
Yeah.
mean, he just seems to have a really infectious energy, kind of being able to build up the guys. So I think he'll do a really good job with the defense.
I think you're right. I mean, you have to have that infectious. I remember Coach Guidry when he was at Western around like, what, 8, 9, 10, 12, something like that. And he had that infectious energy. He could get a defense pumped, above and beyond what you needed them to be. I mean, I think some of those guys would have ran through a wall for him. So I think that's definitely a good hire. I'm hoping the defense can step up and be the defense from last year or even better. Not this last season, but the year before, because last year they did finally have improvements at the end of the year, but there was a lot lacking before that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's something I wanted to ask you too that I heard from somebody else. One thing that we've noticed is that D'Angelo Malone still hasn't technically declared for the NFL draft or anything. And one thing that I heard from someone is that it could be possible that he might decide to follow Clayton White and go to South Carolina to potentially have one last year to be able to build up his draft stock even more and be in the SEC. Do you think that that's something that he might do?
I think it's possible. It would definitely help his resume.
Yeah, but at this point, I mean, he's still projected to go in the draft at this point. Like, another thing you have to think of is injuries and everything. Like, do you want to go ahead and get your money and still be able to be on a team now, or do you want to push that back and go into a new system and be able to still have some more playing time to build up your resume against better competition, obviously with the SEC? But what if you were to get injured? I mean, you never know.
See, now that's the thing too. This is where baseball has the advantage. And, where basketball technically has an advantage, where their players can go and they can say, you're going to go number 3 overall or whatever, or even enter the draft. And they say, well, you didn't get drafted. You can do a free agent. And he'd be like, nah, deuces, I'm going to go to Carolina. That's where the advantage is.
Yeah.
Is where these guys can actually go and check it out. And sorry, I've tried.
Bless you.
Oh my gosh, that was awful. Okay, thank you. I don't want to keep people COVID through the airways. But anyway, I don't have COVID. I just have a cold. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, that's where the advantage comes in, is where these people can go to the draft, or, even see as far as where they're going to go in the draft. And then they can make their next steps, and it's not a done deal. It's not, well, if you do this, you're done. They can go see, and then they can come back and say, well, I need to work on this, or I need to work on that. But I digress. So we have been truant in the fact that we have not talked about a single women's basketball game this year.
So it has been a little rough, though.
I'm going to go back and we're going to recap what's happened so far. So it's going to take me a little bit. In November, Western lost to Tennessee 87-47. Good God. You beat them by 40 points.
It is women's basketball. And I mean, Tennessee is one of the big powerhouses and always has been. So
they're the Duke of women's basketball, or the Kentucky, or the Carolina.
Yeah, they're one of those.
They're one of the tops, is what I'm trying to say. They're kind of a legacy crap team.
They are a blue blood program. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Keep hitting my notes off here. So in December, Western played Ball State. They lost 58-54. Then they played Little Rock and lost 63-47. Arkansas, Little Rock. I mean, no disrespect, but this is why we really haven't said anything about them.
Well, do you know why they've kind of struggled, though, don't you?
Why is that?
It's because Raneem El-Jadawi, our leading scorer and senior leader, she had been stuck in Egypt due to travel restrictions due to COVID. She hasn't been able to join the team and come back over here until I think last week. she was finally able to come back over here, but I'm not sure if she's been cleared to play just yet.
Oh, no, I did not know that.
Yeah, so that's why it's been kind of a struggle. And also, they have a really, really young team right now.
Excuse me. We lost to Mercer after Bellarmine. We lost to Tennessee Tech after that, 73-59. And then the Samford game was postponed. I'm assuming that's due to Samford, or was that due to us?
I haven't heard it due to us. I think it's probably due to Samford. Western's done a good job so far.
So, thus far, we are into January. Western was supposed to play Charlotte. Both those games were postponed. And then we split with La Tech, so they're taking after the boys' side now. They beat La Tech on the 8th, 61-55, and they lost 58-52 on the 9th. Mm-hmm. This is the most frustrating thing for me right now. And I don't know if everybody else in the conference is doing this or if it's just us that keeps splitting games.
No, it's not just us. It's other teams in our conference and also like nationwide, the other conferences that are having to do what we're doing. It's about the same.
Oh my gosh, it's just ridiculous to keep splitting games like this. It's like, how are we going to determine who wins the conference if we keep doing this crap?
I mean, it shows how hard. I mean, if your team is really, really good, I feel like that you have a chance to win. But the thing is that I think we've regressed, at least on the men's side, once we got to conference play. But, I mean, we'll talk about that later.
Yes. So we will play. The next game is against Marshall. And Marshall's 2-4, which surprised me. I was really surprised when I saw that stat. We play them on the 14th. So tomorrow night, 6 p.m. on ESPN Plus, we play Marshall. And then on the 17th, which is a Sunday, at 3 p.m. we're going to play, and it'll be on ESPN Plus as well. So please support the girls. Watch the games on ESPN Plus. If you got a little girl like I do, watch the basketball games, let them see, female athletes playing and doing well, and support the Hilltoppers at the same time. So in Women's Conference USA, who do you think leads if you do not know?
I mean, Rice has usually been one of the better teams, but I'm not sure if they're still
the Mutts
right now. Really?
Yes, the Murfreesboro Backfats of Nashville Mutts. They are 4-0 in conference right now, and they're 6-3 in overall. And Western women's basketball is sitting at 5th. Yeah. We are 1-1 in conference play and 2-6 overall.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a struggle this year. I mean, mostly due to Redeem not being able to play. But, I mean, even still, there's still a lot of young players on this team.
Well, I mean, and even look at, like, the men's side. We had a, 6-game winning streak, and then Charlotte snapped that for us. Mm-hmm. And now we're going back and forth. Now, this Marshall game that was postponed, any idea what that was about, or was it just scheduling or TV time or what?
I think it was COVID because they had to push the date back from that Thursday. They were supposed to have it be Thursday and Saturday like it traditionally would be, and I think they had to move it to Friday and Sunday. They had to push it back for a day.
But just one day?
I guess, man. I don't know.
I was like...
I know that they had stuff canceled earlier because of COVID.
Okay, so, they did. They were scheduled for a Charlotte game. How do they only manage one Charlotte game, though? So they had to postpone one of the Charlotte games, and then they postponed our game. So, yeah, I guess it could have been COVID against Marshall.
Yeah.
I still don't see how they only got one Charlotte game, though. That's blowing my mind. I don't know what's going on there. Mm-hmm. Marshall cheating at the Dairy Queen in Huntington.
Yep.
Anyway, so we've got Marshall on the 15th, 5 o'clock, CBS Sports Network, and then on the 17th we're going to be playing them at 2 o'clock. So what are your outlooks so far for the Western Marshall game?
It's just disappointing seeing again how we've kind of come to conference play and struggled. which I know these back-to-back games are tough. And this time we'll actually get a break in between games. And I feel like that could be the difference of us actually sweeping somebody or not, is having that extra day of rest and being able to prepare. But the thing is that if Stansberry and this team can't figure out how to get any type of offense going in the half court, then this may be one of the most disappointing seasons that he's had since he's been our coach, because they looked so good in non-conference, beating Alabama. They just beat Kentucky. They beat a good Tennessee team. Alabama looks like one of the best teams in the SEC right now. And yet here we go, and now we lose to Charlotte. And, I mean, we split a game with Louisiana Tech where we're not shooting good at all. So, I mean, we have to win in our conference in order to even think about a Conference USA title. Because, I mean, there's no really good chance of us getting an at-large bid. I mean, we still don't know if the NCAA tournament will be a seed of 64. I mean, with it being in Indiana and spread out everywhere, I feel like it still can be. But we got to get our offense figured out, or it's going to be super long 2 months.
So I am a team sport person. So basketball is not really my cup of tea. I mean, it is a team sport, so to speak, but you can't. There is no I in team is the worst cliche ever. But in basketball, you definitely have to have a few talented players, and I definitely think that we have to have a few guys step up. We really can't go through Charles on every play. I don't feel like.
Well, I feel like if we did go to Charles more than we do, I think we would be doing a little bit better too. But the thing is, they can't even get the ball to him.
Well, and I'm fine with that. My issue is just we need to go to him every play. I don't think you need to go every play, but I mean, I'm fine with most plays. We are actually.
And he's the best player that we've had in arguably this entire millennia, at least since 2000, at least since Courtney Lee left. I mean, him and Jeremy Evans. I think he's probably the most talented player, at least that we've ever had, and since them, in my opinion. So, I mean, we need to get him the ball more. I mean, if he's going to be an NBA prospect, which he is, I mean, his draft stock has already gone up a ton. We need to get him the ball as much as he wants it, in my opinion.
I'm good with that. But just, I mean, it doesn't need to be a James Harden situation. Like, he gets the ball and he doesn't have to look for a pass. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, they still need to kind of try to find him and everything and actually draw up some plays, which hasn't really happened much in recent memory. Because, I mean, usually, Bessie's in the paint and they're just kind of holding the ball on the perimeter, and then they get far into the shot clock and just throw up some horrible shot, and then that's it.
Yeah. That's, definitely frustrating. But on the positive side, Western's only one game back from ODU. ODU's leading the conference. Yeah, but we're tied with like 5 other people behind one game.
Yeah, I put in my article today about Conference USA basketball how, I mean, at the end of this weekend, we could either be at the top of the conference or we could be in middle of the pack and be like 5th place. So, I mean, it just depends on how well we do against Marshall.
Yes. We have to consecutively beat teams. We cannot keep up this, BS of splitting games. That's why I called the episode the 7-10 split, because this is what we're doing every game. It's just we're not picking up stuff.
Yeah.
So we got to capitalize against Marshall, which actually Marshall is ranked like 4th. They're 1-1 in conference, 7-2 overall. We got to capitalize on Marshall. We got to capitalize on MTSU, and then on the 29th we're going to face ODU, who's number 1 right now. So, and it's I don't know. This may turn into just like football season where we were just like chalk it up to COVID, chalk it up to 2020. It's a year so bad.
You can't even blame it on COVID this year, because I mean we did so well in non-conference play against Alabama, Memphis. I mean, Northern Iowa when they were still healthy. We don't really have many excuses other than, I mean, we're just playing selfish ball and we don't know how to shoot the ball.
So, optimistically, we're to say we have a good year this year. We win conference, we go to the dance, win maybe a game or two, maybe depending on where we're at. Bassie goes to the draft. Is that a good year?
I think so, but I mean,
even excellent year.
The thing is that if we get to the NCAA tournament, I think we can do really good. It's just getting to that point has been the struggle.
Yes.
Because we've shown that we can beat all these Power 5 teams, but yet we can't get out of our own way and beat teams like Charlotte. So, I mean, you have to beat these teams in your competition that are lower. I mean, Charlotte just lost to a Division II school the other day. That was really bad. And,
Yeah, you can't play down to your competition. I completely agree.
but that's what we've done the entire time that Rick Stansberry has been our head coach. So I don't know what you do with that.
Well, and they've always done the zone too, so
Mm-hmm.
and that's always been frustrating in certain circumstances. It's frustrating.
Yeah, when a team shoots like 70% from deep for an entire game.
And we can never change. There's no adjustment. It's just keep it up, guys. Yep.
But my question is, when are we actually going to get a team that actually can shoot the ball? Because, I mean, we have Luke Frampton, who's maybe the most consistent shooter from deep. But, I mean, even he has nights where he's completely off. I mean, I think that Bassey has made more threes than some of our guards have. I mean, it's just been Brick City, and I don't know what's to blame for that.
Well, I was going to say, like, how good a three-pointer shooter is Bassey, honestly?
Honestly, he's got a good stroke for a big guy, and that's why it makes his draft stock so high.
That's what I was going to say. I figured his draft stock's got to be high with him being able to shoot the three like that. So
He's
I know it's
better than Ben Simmons.
I was going to say, I know it's early, but where are we thinking he's going to go?
Maybe mid to late first round.
So where's he going? What team do you think?
Oh God, I don't know. I mean, I haven't really spent as much time looking at that, and plus, I mean, the NBA season is still so young; it's kind of hard to tell. But it just depends on who needs his forward or center. Because I mean, he might have to move to the 4 in the NBA.
I could definitely see him at a 4 in the NBA. And the bad thing is we've been talking about getting Bassey the ball. Like last year, that was his whole thing too, is we couldn't get him the ball. They would double team, triple team, zone, lock him down, handcuff him, basically whatever they could do to keep him from doing anything. And I mean, it's frustrating. I don't know. But yes, Mr. Hilltopper, I think coaching is an issue to an extent. But anyway,
yeah,
I digress. So we got Marshall, 5:00 on the 15th on CBS Sports Network. And then we play them again on the 17th at 2:00. That's a Sunday, isn't it? Or is it? Yes.
Yeah, it's Sunday.
Yes. And then, of course, on the 23rd, we have so next Saturday, we've got MTSU. On the 24th, we have MTSU again. I don't know. So that's going to be
if we don't sweep Middle, I'm going to be pissed because they are hot garbage and should not be an issue for a team that is capable of beating SEC competition, in my opinion.
I agree. However, they're still tied in Conference USA for second.
Well, what's their overall record?
Okay, so I'm going to have to count out loud because I don't have my socks off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Either canceled or postponed games. They canceled Arkansas, Little Rock, or Akron. I'm sorry, Akron. They canceled, I'm assuming, Bellarmine. 2 Bellarmine games. They postponed the FAU games. They split with FIU. On the 15th and 16th, they've got Southern Miss. And then they play Western the following game. They really haven't played all that many teams. Currently, they are 3-5. That's overall. 3-5 overall. They are 1-1 in conference.
Still a team that we should beat.
Okay, so let's see, who have they beat? Is it? Yeah, that is Omaha. Okay, so they played Omaha. They lost to Omaha 60-59. They played ETSU, East Tennessee State, and they lost 57-43. They beat Murray 78-61. They lost to UT Chattanooga 80-70. They beat Covington. Who we got? Covenant Scots. I don't know who that is. Do you?
Some D2 school or NAI school, I suppose.
Yeah, 76-57. And then they lost to Ole Miss 70-51. And then they hadn't played a game since Ole Miss, which was, what is the date? December 16th or 18th.
It's been a while. I saw the Ole Miss bus on the interstate. Now that you say that, I remember seeing them go north on 65 because they had a game up at Dayton after they played Middle.
Well, now they got FIU. They played FIU on January 8th. So they had almost a full month off. They missed 4 games. That is crazy. I mean, I agree. I think Western should beat Middle. If they split with Middle, I think I'll be upset too.
Yeah, because I mean, we can't keep splitting all these games and expect to be at the top of the conference because it doesn't work like that.
No, definitely not. So ESPN, their basketball power index has Western at a 53% to Middle or to Marshall 46.9. Sorry, I had to cough button that one. Marshall's averaging about 80 points. Western's averaging about 73. Points against, Marshall 71, Western 71. They're doing better in the field than we are. They're shooting about 2% better. They're at a 46. We're at 44. We're doing about even on rebounds. They get 38. We get 37.8. They've got more passing, assists. They've almost got 2 more blocks than we do, which is crazy. And they've got 1 more steal than we do. Let's see. Who has Marshall played? They split with La Tech. They played UNCA. Who is UNCA?
Asheville.
Okay. North Carolina, Asheville. They beat them. They beat RMU, Robert Morris. They canceled with Northern Iowa, which, by the way, that is a crazy football game that I'll have to talk about at some point. When in 2006 when Western played Northern Iowa. But anyway, Toledo, they lost 96-87. They beat Ohio. They beat Charleston Cougars. They are COFC. Is that supposed to be Charleston of Carolina?
I guess.
Akron was postponed. Wright State, they beat them, and they beat Arkansas State. So they technically only have 2 losses on the schedule, La Tech and Toledo.
It's not bad.
But they have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games postponed, including the one for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's a miracle we've been able to keep our schedule consistent and still be able to have a bunch of games with all the cancellations.
I mean, I think it's a lot of hard work on the staff's part. I'm not going to undercut them there anyway, because they've had to put in the work to make sure these guys stay healthy.
Oh, yeah.
I honestly, I feel for a lot of these programs, professional and collegiate, that are having issues with COVID because this is just a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
Just like the Boston Celtics. I mean, they lost basically all their starters due to COVID right now.
I mean, that's so crap, though, dude.
No, put Taco Fall at point guard. I would love to see that with everything in my life. That would be incredible.
Part of me wishes they couldn't forfeit. And I'm not saying that the players play, but that they have to get players. So, like
just find someone off the street.
Yes, that would be the greatest thing ever.
Imagine if they came in and dropped like 45 points. They would end up getting like some huge contract or something.
If they could get somebody off the street, and let's say they're playing like a LeBron, if they scored 30 points against somebody like that, I would sign them.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that'd be hilarious.
I mean, it reminds me of Jeremy Lin. Yeah, it's Jeremy Lin or whatever, the Linsanity with the Knicks. Like, he was just going off for like a single month, and then like after that, he just like kind of went back down to earth and struggled. But it was so crazy. Everybody thought he was going to be like some big superstar because he was going nuts.
Do you have you ever heard the story? I think it was the Blackhawks in the NHL. They had, I want to say a player went out for a penalty, and tradition dictated that they got somebody from the stands. They randomly pick a guy that played collegiate hockey, and he played goalie actually. And so they put him on the ice, and he actually saved the game for him.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'll have to look that up, but I want to say it was the Blackhawks. But yeah, it happened several years ago.
I remember hearing that story.
that would be the opposite of my luck. Because my luck would be that I would pick somebody from the stands and they would suck, and the other team would score like 80 points.
Yeah.
I'm gonna Google this.
I mean, as long as you can flail your arms and just try to block stuff, being a goalie in the NHL, I mean, at least that's the least mobile thing that you can do.
Are you kidding me? I would be flinching like no other when they came at me. I would just be ducking and like curled up in the fetal position. Yeah, I played football, but there's a little whatever hunk of black that is. What is that? Is that even metal or clay? I don't even know what those are supposed to be made of.
It's like rubber, I think.
If I was born further north, I think I would love hockey. But I honestly...
Have you never been to a Preds game?
No, I've never been to a Preds game.
Bro, where are you at? You've got to go to a Preds game once COVID, you're able to do it.
I will. I'm going to have to. Which actually brings up another topic I was going to talk about. So they talked to the NHL president and asked him what he's going to do about COVID. And he's like, well, there's plans in place. I mean, it sounds bad, but they're like, well, what are you going to do? He's like, well, it depends on the situation. You can't just ask me, what am I going to do? And we're not even sure what's going to happen. I don't know. I think it's going to be like all the other sports, honestly. Like with all these COVID issues and everything else, I think you're just going to have to play it as it comes at you.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me. I don't know. I think it's a miracle that we're still having sports, honestly.
Yeah.
But anyway, so let me see here. Pull up Marshall Western. So, what are you thinking score-wise? Western Marshall. What do we got?
I feel like it'll just be the same trend that we've had. Just to the fact that the first game will be really good. It might be a little more high scoring, and then the second game just kind of a little bit of a scoring lull from both teams, and like the first one will probably be in the 70s or 80s, the second one probably in like the 60s or 50s.
I think Western's going to split again, which I hate to say.
Yeah.
I think they're going to split again.
I think it'll be opposite this time. I feel like we could blow the first game and then come back after having that day of rest and improvement and being able to win on Sunday.
I hope you're right. It's not going to be really going to help us with recruitment because, as far as I can tell, we don't have a TV spot on Sunday. But I don't honestly, I don't know if this team can. Like, I don't know if they're mature enough to be able to, I would hope so, that they are mature enough to rise up and kind of overcome that challenge, so to speak. But we'll just have to see. I don't know. I'm hoping Western wins the first one, and if they lose the second one, it's not as bad to me. But I want to win the first one.
A part of me wishes that we would just have the conference championship instead of have a tournament. It's just like the winner of the East and the winner of the West, and make it a 7-game series like the NBA playoffs. That would be fun to watch.
I agree. That would be better. Of course, I'd rather just give all the basketball players sticks and let them smack each other around. But tomato, whatever works for you. Yeah, you're welcome, Mr. Hilltopper. I'm sorry that you're still stuck at work, buddy. But so Jared's cutout will be at the game. So make sure to make your picture with Jared's cutout. Mr. Hilltopper says he's going to be there. Lucky buddy. So let's see here. What else we have? Okay. I think Western will win the first one. I think it's going to be it'll be 76-73, and I say we'll lose the second one 84-78. But anyway, what do you got?
That sounds canon. I feel like it would be the opposite. That I think we might lose the first game and then win the second one.
Okay.
The second one be a little more low scoring, but
yeah, that's fine.
It just depends on if Tavion Kinsey and Jared West go off on us, because if they do, it's going to be a long night. Because
Yeah.
Jameer Young, he's a really good guard for Charlotte. He went off on us. Yeah, I mean, La Tech, I can't remember who the best players that they had. I didn't get to see any of those games because of work.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we still got to do better on defense and actually do something on offense too. There's so many issues we got to work out. If we were able to walk away from Marshall and be able to sweep this weekend, that'll change my perspective on this team. But as of right now, they still got a lot to prove in conference play.
I completely agree with that. If they can sweep, I think it changes my outlook completely on the rest of the season. But if they don't sweep, if they split, I think we're still in the same boat, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. If they lose both, my outlook has completely changed again. I think it's going to be even worse, but we'll see. I don't know. So anyway, Jared, what are you doing on your downtime with COVID and all this other stuff going on? And when basketball games aren't going on, what are you into, buddy?
Honestly, a whole lot of nothing, and that's fine with me.
Well, that's fine. Hey, what are you watching? What are you listening to?
I put out an EP, just like ambient music at the beginning of the year. That was fun. It's been doing pretty good on Spotify. I was excited to do that. So the stuff that I recorded with One Church Movement in Bowling Green, we've been releasing the videos for it since we filmed it in August. We've been releasing it. There's a new one out tonight, so I'm pretty excited to see how that one turns out. I've just been watching a lot of football, a lot of basketball. I've been trying to keep up with the Pacers more. Other than that, it's been so cold I can't even do anything anyways. I'm still working. I can't really go and take my dog to the park as much as I want, because if it's too cold for me, I know it'll be too cold for him too.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
As far as other than that, I've just been watching a bunch of low-rate horror movies from like the 90s or early 2000s.
Some of those are the best, though.
Oh, yeah. Like I watched White Noise the other day. That was classic.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Speaking of that reminded me of Kevin Bacon doing The Invisible Man back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen the latest Invisible Man?
Mm-mm.
It is really good. I enjoyed it. It is very suspenseful. It's got a couple twists in it. I think it's pretty good. I think it's a pretty good movie.
Another one I watched, another good old 90s movie I watched. Do you remember Contact? It was with Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey. That's a trippy movie. I watched it.
So Mr. Hilltopper likes both Invisible Mans. Yeah, Kevin Bacon is a pretty good actor for most things. I liked him in, what was it? Tremors back in the day. Okay, so Mr. Hilltopper recommends Right at Your Door. I will have to check that out, but I imagine I'll have to wait till the baby goes to sleep before I can watch that. But anyway, so have you been into anything else?
I'm trying to think. I don't even remember. I feel like I've been working just as much. Just making that coffee money, going
there
home.
You go.
Usually I get home late. I might stay up. I might not. I might just go to bed. Usually I'm free in the mornings, and I just kind of watch SportsCenter, go get lunch from different places. I was off today, and I didn't do a darn thing, and it was completely
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, so don't think there's anything wrong with that. So I have actually purchased a 3D printer.
Oh, nice.
I love it. I've got two. That's the bad thing. I got two. So I bought one. So those of you who do or do not know, there are two different types of 3D printers at the moment. There is a filament-based, which can provide stronger materials. So basically, I've made a few toys for my daughter. Made a few things for the printer itself, like tool holders and stuff like that. And then I do have another. It's a resin-based printer. Resin-based printers will do like miniatures, statues. Basically, if I can find the right file to put into the printer, then I can do it. But yes, I went out and bought the filament printer first. And then I was like, oh, this is so much fun. So then I sat down and then I got the resin printer. And I thought my wife was going to kill me, but she got over it. Anyway, yes, Mr. Hilltopper, we do need WKU stuff. So when I haven't been printing stuff, I have actually started. I watched a documentary called The History of Swear Words on Netflix. Nick Cage is the host of the show, and they've got a bunch of comedians who talk about it, and it was actually really funny. I enjoyed it. I did not think I would. Well, I thought it would be kind of boring after a while, but it actually wasn't. But my problem with the show is I feel like the F word is the granddaddy of them all curse words, and that was the first episode.
I mean, just come out swinging, man.
Yeah, that's how it was. It was just come out swinging. And then, of course, they ended with the female slang for vagina, the female slang for the male member, and what was the last one? Oh, I guess I can say it. Damn was the last one. And I was just like some of those, I was just like, those aren't really curse words. It's just stuff you don't say in public, But, oh, well. I digress. It was really good. It was funny because it was just it was one of those where you're watching and you're like, huh. So that was what that was, huh? That's hilarious.
You should put that on your resume, swear word connoisseur.
Hey, in my actual life, I use the F word like a comma sometimes. I can't. That's what my wife asked me. She goes, "Which one do you think you say the most?" And I was probably the F bomb when it's not a good day. It's like a comma.
See, let me ask you this question though. I don't know if I've asked you this, but how many people do you think are going to be fired when you don't have to wear a mask at work anymore? Because I can't even tell you how many bad words I've said under my breath that no one can really see me moving my mouth or anything. So I feel like it's going to be bad.
So this is funny because I actually was thinking about this the other day. How many times when you go to a restaurant or retail store or whatever, and you know how you do that kind of smile like everything's fine, and then you think, hey dummy, you have a mask on, they can't see your face. Like I've done that so many times. So, and I actually am bad about doing the inverse of that. So when somebody says something stupid, I'm just like, yeah. And then, I'm gonna be one of those that probably gets in trouble whenever the masks come off and everybody's like, you can't do that.
Yeah, if you think the unemployment rise in April of last year was bad, just wait until after the face masks aren't required anymore at people's work. It's going to be ugly.
Honestly, and this might sound depressing to our listeners, and I'm sorry, but I honestly wonder how much I feel like we're going to be in this COVID stuff for the next at least 2 more years, if not more.
I mean, if people wore a face mask, maybe it would go away. But, I mean, Tennessee closes for snow a lot more than it does for COVID. So,
that's true.
Hope that it snows a lot in Tennessee.
That's true. I just don't know. I don't know. It's one of those where you're just – well, I'll say this. When you go into Walmart or somewhere and, you run into people without masks on or doing this or that, and you're just like, you really want to be like, where have you been for the past, year that you don't think you could have to wear a mask?
It's
and it's not even like people want to use it politically. And I'm like, I don't look at it
this isn't a political issue. It's not a political issue. And that's
I'm not looking at it as a political issue. I'm looking at it as I'm trying to keep myself safe and my family safe and not, take something home to them just because I had to go get milk,
And the thing is people downplay it and say like it's a hoax or it's just not as bad as like a cold. I mean, it's about the same thing. But if that's true, then how come so many of our hospitals in our country are basically at maximum capacity to where they're actually starting to turn away people in California because of how many people they have in their hospitals that they actually don't have room. So, I mean, that doesn't sound like a hoax to me, but I mean,
I don't think it's a hoax. First off, we've buried probably probably 8 or 10 people that either had it or suspectedly had COVID. But the issues we're running into a lot here is the hospitals having no idea if the person was positive or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, for instance, no names or anything like that, but got a call someone passed away at the hospital. I went to go get them from the morgue. And when I got there, I asked if there was anything I should know about the person, any diseases or anything like that. And they were like, oh, well, they were COVID positive. And I was like, oh, really? Huh. That's good to know. I'm glad somebody finally told me that, because we wear certain PPE and we try to take considerations when we deal with that. And it's a lot more freakish or scary when you're dealing with somebody who you had no idea, and then you're all of a sudden you're dealing with that, and it's very nerve-wracking. I'll just say that.
Yeah. I mean, I would just treat every person like they had it just to be safe.
That's what I do for most things. Whenever I leave the vehicle I'm driving to pick up a person, I always have on gloves and a mask, because I'm not taking that issue. I'm not taking that chance. I'm a person who is taking immunotherapy, not immunotherapy, but immunosuppressors. Because of psoriasis. So I'm not taking that issue. I'm not taking that chance. I'm going to play it safe and try and do what I can to stay healthy. I mean, one of our first cases of a COVID death was an individual who refused to wear a mask. And so he did not wear a mask. He said it was a myth. He wasn't going to worry about it, yada, yada, yada. And I don't even know how long it took, but he eventually got COVID, and guess what? He passed away from it.
And it's sad that people actually fall for that lie, because, I mean, it literally cost them their life.
My thing is if they said, there's a 99% chance of this or whatever, or that, if there's a 99% chance that you'll make it to work safer if you drive with both hands, I'll drive with both hands.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't trust the government, so there's that too.
Yeah.
I don't trust the government to run a sewer system, so there's that. But that's just me. I mean, look at refund checks. How long does it take for them to send out refund checks, and how many have they screwed up? But not getting political. But that's all I've got tonight. Boys and girls play on the 15th and the 17th. So I don't even remember what time those were. Let me check. Let me get my notes back out here. Sorry. The girls play on the 14th at 6 p.m. That's on ESPNU. And then they'll play again on the 17th at 3 p.m. on ESPN. Or I'm sorry, those are ESPN Plus. Check those games out. Support the girls. They need your support. They're still trying to do well, even though they're having a rougher year. But they can do it. They can come back and do well. The boys are playing on the 15th at, I think that one is at Marshall, isn't it?
I think so.
Okay. And that's on CBS Sports Network, 5 p.m. And then on the 17th, they're going to play at 2 p.m. At Marshall as well. So if you can't make it, like Mr. Hilltopper, who's going to be there, definitely support the Hilltoppers any way you can, whether it's a cardboard cutout or listening to the IMG Sports Network. And if you can, check Mr. Hilltopper, or not Mr. Hilltopper, sorry. Check the Hilltopper Vault on YouTube. They have been posting a lot of games. I have the Georgia State game, the bowl game, on my watch later, and it'll probably stay there because I don't know if I really want to watch it or not. Anyway, guys. So as always, like, share, and subscribe to the episode. We appreciate your support. If you have questions for us, send those in. We'll be glad to answer them on air. And as always, guys, go Tops.
Go Tops.